Today we have the great pleasure of having guests in one of our lodges, Will and Jessie, and Will Young, of course, from Love Island, but also well known for being a farmer and a storm on social media. So he and I are going to go for a little walk around the farm and have a chat. Hi Will, good
morning.
to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's go for a wander.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful British weather this, isn't it?
It is lovely, yeah. Well, the rain has passed, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we're here at about 900 foot up, rolling Cotswold Hills, beautiful place to live and work.
Yeah.
And I was born and brought up on the farms. My dad, first generation farmer.
Yep.
His father was a famous actor. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So the sort of thespian world.
Yeah.
And then I grew up with three older sisters, went off to agricultural college and came home. So I'm second generation, but you're sixth?
I'm sixth, yeah, sixth generation. So the farm's changed a little bit. We've tried everything, you know, on the farm. Started off, you know, in about the late 1800s with, yeah, I know, dairy and beef. And, you know, you're talking about probably 20 dairy, 10 beef, and that was enough to survive sort of thing. And it's changed as the years got on, and it was mainly dairy until kind of like the 2000s when you had the crash in the milk price. And my dad was put in a position, you know, either sell up, you know, sell the farm, sell the farmyards and go, you know, I've got to find something else, or adapt. And what he did was sold the farmyard, sold the cows, got sheep, and you know, we're making a living. Not a great living, but making a living out of that now.
And are they the only livestock you've got?
They're the ones that we only commercially farm, but then we've got kind of like donkeys, emus, you know, pregnant goats on the side, just because you know when you commercially farm, it's a business, so it's nice to have the animals about where they're almost like pets.
Yeah, sure. And you just have them as pets then? You don't let people in to visit them and stuff?
Not at the moment. Hopefully one day would love to open it up to the public. I think it's so important that people who don't come from farming backgrounds actually understand what happens on the farm and how it gets kind of like in supermarkets and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And for you, because of your fame now, do you get people knocking on the door and wanting to come round? We get a lot of messages and a lot of DMs and a few people kind of wandering up and down the street trying to locate where we are.
But the address and everything's all online, so it's very, very easy to find. But we haven't, you know, me and Jessie hasn't had too much trouble with kind of randomers poking their heads through. Because you want to decide whether you want that intrusion into your farm and into your life, because, you know, we've got a place, Cotswold Farm Park. My dad opened in the 70s. We get 180,000 visitors. Yeah. And it's slightly detached from where I live. Yeah. But we welcome them and they're paying guests. Yeah. So, you know, there's a financial return, but it's a huge intrusion. Of course, yeah. I think, you know, I've got my granddad living next door and he's still, I getting to grips with this social media and, you know, the public and everything like that, and we've kind of like wind my dad down a little bit, so yeah, it's a work in progress. It's a changing world, isn't it? Let's go for a wander. So for you then, Will, getting into farming, did you feel the pressure of being that sixth generation? I think with everyone, if it's not put on you, you put it on yourself. I think there is always a pressure, especially in family farms, that, you know, carrying on that for one more generation sort of thing. However, for me growing up, my dad at the age of 2, 3, well, he's put on him, you're out on the farm, you know, my granddad would go, you know. So although he would never admit it, I always think there is a bit of resentment with my dad to my granddad. So with me and my brother growing up, he was go out, get an education, go to uni, farm's always going to be here. So I almost went out, looked for things because that's what my dad said. And I always loved the farm, always worked on the farm. It was a hobby that I always did. And it got to a point where I was like, I actually want to farm, Dad. You're gonna, you know, you're gonna let me home, sort of thing. But you know, as you would know, it's a way of life. It's not Monday to Friday, have the weekend off, sort of thing. Yeah. And you've got about 1,500 sheep at home. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to make a living for your dad and you. Oh no. Are you? So you need to do other things. 100%. You know, I think I was on about £150 a week. Really, you know. Dad pay me more. But realistically, you know, with me growing up, wanting to buy a house or wanting to move out, it wasn't an option that I was ever going to have. Yeah. So I think, you know, especially as a young person, I had to look for different avenues, look for different ways I could earn money to, one, survive on the farm and move out and, you know, live my own life, but then two, also making a living for a family, sort of thing. I don't know if you felt that, and
Well, I came back to a family farm that was already diversifying. So we've got the Cotswold Farm Park, we've got a holiday site here, we do horse fun rides, lots of things going on. And the media world for me was almost a bit of an accident, really. My dad did a bit of telly work. Yeah. My wife works in the television, and Countryfile did a presenter search. Yeah. And I applied for the job because they encouraged me to. Yeah. And I thought, I just want to be a farmer. Yeah. You know? I'm not really interested in all of this. And amazingly, I got the job, and it has changed my life. Yeah. But I think for you and I, it's a form of diversification, so you can carry on farming.
Definitely, of course. Did you feel pressured by your dad?
No, not at all. No, he said, go and find, see the world, do what you want. And at times I wondered whether farming was for me, but it was something that I really always wanted to do.
Of course,
so went to local schools, went to agricultural college, travelled to Australia and New Zealand farming, and with a mate who's now my business partner. And just wanted to come home and be here. Yeah. And that sort of, although I saw the world, which he encouraged, the old adage, although it may sound a bit corny, there's no place like home. Yeah, for me, that was true. Yeah, I just wanted to be here. Yeah. So Will, those pressures of coming home, your dad was great and allowed you the opportunity to go off and do other things, but then you decided farming was for you. Yeah. But with the amount of stock you've got, 1,500 ewes, there is enough in it for you and your dad? I mean, how do you make money? Or is that where the media life came in?
We've actually increased. So when I came home, I think my dad was probably on about 800 sheep, and, me being a young man kind of gave him a kick and was like, come on, I want to make some money. Yeah. And then that's when we started actually lambing sheep early. And kind of like the media life came in by chance.
Okay.
Complete chance. I used to post videos on Snapchat, apps to my friends, just letting them know what I was up to, because it was interesting. And one of them was like, post it on TikTok. Yeah. And I kind of ummed and ahed, should I, shouldn't I? And, after a couple of days, I did post it and got an incredible response. People, absolutely loved it. They didn't really know what was going on. And I was like, so maybe, on TikTok, this isn't getting put out there. There's a lot of, there's a lot of reach and a lot of people seeing things that they've never seen before. And from that moment, I just carried on making videos and educating people and trying to spread the word.
Yeah, well done you. Congratulations, because it has. It's been incredible. The people you've touched and lots of people who wouldn't know anything about farming.
Of course, yeah.
That sort of education, people learning about where their food comes. I know you feel very passionate about it, and so do I. Yeah. And it's just so important, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And I think it's really important, letting people know what happens, but then also what actually happens on the farm, with the economic pressures and, the massive problem at the moment with mental health.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it is horrible, isn't it? This mental health, particularly in agriculture. Yep. And I had a friend who sadly died by suicide and was a farmer and, a sort of chirpy guy. I just never saw it coming. And from that, I've now done various pieces for Countryfile on the BBC and looked at some of the statistics behind mental health. So there's all the agricultural charities, the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution, Farm Community Network, all these fantastic people doing amazing work, the NFU. But we decided with a professional company to make 15 podcasts so farmers could listen to it when they're on their quad bikes or in their tractors, and looking at some of the issues. And with some of the testimonials of people who have suffered themselves, it does seem that there are so many reasons for farmers to go down that dark corridor, isn't there?
Yeah, there is so many reasons. You can't actually pinpoint one. You've got the isolation, you've got actually what happens on farm. Personally speaking, me and my dad got in a real low point. We had just finished lambing about 200 sheep in February for the early flock. Lambed them all inside, got them healthy, got them fit, and you're talking, round the clock, 24 hours a day. We'll put all of our energy into it, and we shifted the lambs out into the field, and a couple of dogs got in and killed 100 lambs. And we went there, we went there in the morning. You had kind of like fields of dead lambs. You had lambs with kind of like punctured wounds running around, and saw that. I kind of like called my dad, and speaking on behalf of my dad as well, we've gotten a real low point there. It was just, it was absolutely horrible. And then obviously the economic issues as well, kind of like that comes with farming. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've got young people taking on the family farm, so that generational pressure, haven't you? And will the farm survive? Are you going to let those generations down by it failing? Isolation, as you say, financial pressures, the weather. There's so much going on, but I think sometimes the consumer, the general public, doesn't realise the pressure agriculture is under.
No, I definitely don't think that they realise. I don't know about you, but I do, sometimes feel like the agricultural and farming community almost over here and everyone else is, over here. And, I've done a bit of research and looked into even kind of like cartoons or books. A farmer's always written on their own. They're never part of society. So even kind of like growing up, you almost get that sense that farmers are a bit neglected from everyone else sort of thing.
And the communication is really important, isn't it? So, some of the things you're doing, some of the other great people on social media, the television programs, Clarkson's Farm, all these programs are really reaching the wider audience, which, I hope helps bridge that urban divide.
Yeah.
But for the farmers, we've just got to learn to talk to each other. And if you are suffering, you're not on your own. There's so many people. If you can just pick up the phone and talk to someone, talk to a charity, talk to your mates, talk to your family.
Yeah.
That seems to be the message. Do you know Ollie Blogs? He does a lot of YouTube stuff. He's really good, and he's done quite a lot of work for mental health.
Yeah.
And he drove a combine from John O'Groats to Land's End. And one of the things he said, when he asks people how they are, he says, what are you as a percentage?
Yeah.
And I do it now out of 10. So how are you today? Oh, I'm fine. No, how are you out of 10?
Yeah.
And then people have to think about it. And you think, and if they say I'm a 5, you think, okay, why is that then?
Yeah.
And then you can draw that out of them. Because it's so easy to walk past someone and say, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine.
I think that's just kind of like the standard answer. You don't even think about how you actually are. You're just, I'm okay, how are you, sort of thing, without actually taking a second and thinking, how do I actually feel?
Yeah, sure. No, you are right. So, Will, now with the farm and your sort of media life and your book and all the rest of it, what's the journey? Have you got a plan?
Oh, I wish I had a plan. I really wish I had a plan. One thing that I can say that, I love farming, I love being out on the farm, but then also I do love spreading the awareness of farming. Coming off of the show Love Island, that was my key thing. It was, I didn't want to be known as kind of like Will from Love Island. I still wanted that that farming brand.
Yeah.
And coming off the show, I thought, have I lost it? Have I still got it? But luckily I still had it. So even coming off the show and being put out to a wider audience to talk about farming, I think is absolutely great. And moving forward, I'd love to know where I'd be, sort of thing. I'd love to diversify the farm so that can actually sufficiently run without the worries of what's the market doing, what's the price of lamb, sort of thing. So I'd love to be in a position and help my family to not have that worry of, are we going to have to sell a little bit of ground to help us survive and things like that. But it will always be kind of close to the farm.
And your girlfriend Jessie's Australian.
Yeah.
So do you think she'd come and live in England with you?
Oh, she ain't got a choice. Yeah, I think for both of us as well, family's so important. We'll spend a bit of time there. And do you know what? With her coming from Australia, I'd love to actually do some work out there.
Yeah.
I think, for me growing up, I learned from my dad, who learned from his dad. Yeah. I didn't go to college, didn't go to uni. So the knowledge I actually have is very limited. And it's only been in the last 6 months where I've been fortunate enough to go to different farms and learn about different things that my knowledge has actually increased. So, going to Australia, I'd love to actually do some proper sheep work with, a flock of 10,000 sort of thing.
Yeah, very different out there.
Yeah, yeah.
No, so the world is your oyster. How exciting.
Yeah, really, really excited. But, just have to wait and see. Wait and see. Don't plan too much.
Well, you're still young.
Yeah. So I don't really have an idea of what kind of like I'm going to do, just see where the wind takes me. But do you have any advice that I can take back?
Well, you're doing incredibly well. You're clearly a lovely bloke. And I think, although it may sound a bit corporate, what we did here, we sat down with all our managers and we came up with our sort of brand values.
Yeah.
And although that does sound corporate, in life, for me, what it means is when you wake up in the morning, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Who are the sort of people you want to hang out with?
Yeah.
In business, what sort of price bracket are you aiming at? Who are you going to sell to? And then try and stick to those, brand values really of your business, but also your life. And, watching what you've done coming out of Love Island, concentrating on your farm, being with Jessie, you know, you've obviously got really strong values, and that hasn't led you down a path that you didn't feel comfortable with, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think with the farm, you know, what you have is an acreage, you know, good sized farm.
Of course,
and so you've got to take a look at that and see what resources you've got there and how you can best use it. And that may be tourism, it may be a farm park, it may be a caravan site or holiday site, it may be selling off bits for building and just keeping the core farm running as a sheep flock. But what I've done in life, because I'm not very bright, I'm not very good at business, accounts and all those sorts of things. I've got an amazing business partner, an old mate of mine.
Yeah.
So we're 50-50 across the whole thing.
Yeah.
And over the years of building and growing the business as tenant farmers, we've just surrounded ourselves with people who are specialists in their job and better at it than we are.
Yeah.
And that sometimes takes a bit of doing because you've got to pay for them, but it's so rewarding when that gives you space to concentrate on the stuff you're good at.
Yeah.
You know, and you're clearly very good in the media, your TikTok's really good, you're a likeable guy, you know, really popular, and you can just play to that strength.
Yeah.
And don't, you know, and let other experts do other bits and pieces. But surrounding yourself with good people is important, because there'll be plenty of people who want a piece of you who may not be the type of people you want to hang around with.
Yeah. No, I've definitely seen that, you know, coming out of the show. People that maybe I'm not really friends with prop up and, how you been, bestie? You know, you're best friends sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, it is about that. And then I think that's what I've done with Jessie. You know, we've come, that's why one of the reasons we did come home, because no one's going to support you like your family supports you.
No, exactly. And using, you know, your profile is great because it'll open doors and take you down avenues that could be quite exciting.
Yeah.
It's doing that with perhaps a little in a guarded way, I suppose. Yeah. But you know that, you don't need me to tell you that. Now then, it's great to talk about life.
Yeah.
I know you love your sheep.
Yes, I do.
I've got 13 different breeds.
Okay.
Let's just go and do some checking on the flock. And
Oh,
I'll just
brilliant.
test you on your breeds, see if you know them.
I already know North Country mules.